Thank you for having me. Oh, the recording in progress sign has appeared. Excellent. So that worked. Good. Nice to meet all of you. So I'm a stage manager person. I have been working on Broadway for the last 10 years, up until the time we all had to find other things to do. And then I quickly started working with Scriptation as product manager and taking all the things that I know about scripts and the entertainment industry and helping bring my voice into what was really a very TV and film centered app. So I brought a bit of a theater perspective. I also started a printing company, so I knew a lot about scripts in New York City. So I brought a little of that perspective and have been working with Scriptation for about a year. I've also spent about 6 months in Toronto with Billy Elliot at the Mirvish before it was called the Mirvish. I can't remember what it was called, but I was there then. So I had a nice time in Toronto. So I guess what we're going to do here today is I'm just going to walk you through the app, ask questions. This will be much more fun in a very informal basis. I know that there's some stage manager people here, there's some actor folks here. So what I would love to do just to get started is talk about what Scriptation does incredibly well. Scriptation is the perfect replacement for your theatrical 3-ring binder. You can do all the things that you do in your 3-ring binder. You can mark up your scripts. And then when it comes time to get the new script, Scriptation takes all of your notes from your old script and intelligently places them in the new script. And I will show you exactly how that all goes. If you guys have an iPad, I highly recommend downloading the app. It is totally free and you can play along as we go. Let me just attempt to share my screen. Let's see how that goes. Okay, do you see my iPad screen?
We do.
Yeah.
You're nailing
Success. Magnificent. All right, so I'm going to be demoing this with a mouse, which is something that I would never do, but it just helps so that everyone can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with where most scripts start, which is in one's email. So Scriptation can handle any PDF document. So this happens to be a script that I'm going to import into Scriptation by tapping the share button up top, and I'm going to select, impossible with the mouse, Scriptation, and you then import the file into the app. And what I'm going to do is just tap select here to save the file locally to my device. So what you see up here on the top left, what we call the file browser. So all of your files are in here, files that you have imported in from your email, or files that you might be able to connect to your cloud. So if you're a Dropbox user or an iCloud user, all of your files and folders that you have in your life can be accessed. And Scriptation supports connection to Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, and iCloud. So what I'm going to do here is I have a script that I've already marked up a little bit so that it's not such a slow go through this. And we have an 11-page script. Now, I'll go to a page that I don't have as much stuff marked up, so I can show you some of the annotation tools. So when you're looking at the main screen on Scriptation, there's the annotation toolbar, which is what you get when you tap annotate. And on this toolbar, which can be moved into different places on the screen, I happen to like it on the bottom right, are a variety of tools. So let's just go down the list here. And I'm also using an Apple Pencil because it's somewhat easier. So the highlight tool automatically recognizes PDF text. So you don't have to do any sloppy highlighting the way that you might do on a 3-ring binder. Same thing is true with the underline tool that's underneath it, or the strike through tool, which is incredibly helpful since on every new musical, all we basically do is cut stuff. So I've done a lot of new musicals. So we have a text box tool underneath. And one of my favorite things about the text icon is as soon as it's selected here, you can just start writing notes, such as, in this scene, Uncle, which is the name of the character. And once your iPad gets to know your handwriting, it's an Apple feature called Scribble, which automatically converts your handwriting to text. So, and it's intelligent. It sort of learns as you go once you auto-correct certain words. So obviously you can do the Scribble thing, or you can just do a regular old text box by tapping and then typing in whatever sort of notes you want, such as, uncle cross stage left. And then once you have these notes, all of your text notes are totally customizable from within the box. Every different tool has a version of this thing called the inspector, where you're able to select your different styles. So let's just say that you were taking blocking, and if you didn't want to do it with a pen and you wanted to do it with typing, you could set 8 different color presets. I'm tapping along the bottom here. And you could set a color per person. If you're a swing out there, that could be incredibly valuable to you, to have different color presets for all of your different type of text notes. One of my favorite tools here is this little yellow icon called the sticky note, which is really good for private notes. So if you have a note that says, ensemble exit stage left, not enough time to do their quick change, blah, 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 and know that like your key for problems that have to be dealt with later are red and a circle, you can very easily go through your entire script to see all of your things that are red circles. Imagine, if you will, like all the things that are blue arrows being costume notes or quick change notes or whatever your particular use might be. So underneath that, we have just the pen tool, which is like what I use all the time for just very quick notes that you can then move around and resize to your heart's content. So like if you were really taking blocking, and we'll get to that once I finish this tool set, like that's really what you would use. Sharing a section here with the pen is the freeform highlight tool. So if you were a bit more like somebody who likes to highlight things manually, you could do that. Speeding through things like shapes, you can do arrows and lines and rectangles. And like one of the things that I really like to do is just highlight over entire sections of text so that you can see, this is like a little mini scene within what you're working on. I'll make it clear. So underneath that is the camera and photo library. So if you have, prop photos or things that aren't pictures of your cat that you wanted to put in, here, I'm going to input this ground plan. This happens to be Be More Chill for the Be More Chill fans out there. So if you wanted to have a little mini ground plan somewhere in your script that you then wanted to take blocking on top of that little teeny weeny ground plan, you certainly could. So those of you that know the show, it starts like this and then the bed goes off, so you can take notes on top of all of your other notes. Moving down this list, we get this thing called stamps. So we have a whole bunch of existing stamp designs, and then we get really cool here with this custom stamp thing. So if you, this is what I really like to use this for. If you have a whole bunch of things that you want to flag to display at the, to talk about at the production meeting on your script, you can put these little custom notes anywhere you want. And then if you want to save it and use it later, here, sharing an icon with that is saved annotations. So you can reference that stamp later. And if you wanted to find all of the times that you needed to talk about something at the production meeting, you could search all the annotations for the text of the stamp. We'll come back to that later because that's pretty cool. And then, of course, there's the eraser. So those are basically all of the annotation tools. And just to give you an idea about what this might look like in real life, this is the first page. So I put in, up here, these are text boxes with some dance counts before the opening. These are all pencil annotations. These things here are lines with different start and end points. So for those of you in the calling script business, this could be incredibly useful to you based on whatever style you like to use. Here's another example of a custom stamp that you could search the content of to see all of your quick changes. That's a rectangle. We talked about that's a sticky note highlight. I'm just going to flag all the way through this in case there's something I missed. There is not. So any questions about annotation tools specifically before I move on to some incredibly more cool stuff? You're already excited. This is the easy stuff. So I'm just going to make this a little smaller so I can move you guys a little. No, maybe not. It's okay. All right. So this is the interesting thing about annotation. So everything that we just did, imagine it exists on the base layer of your script. In the Layers tab, I'll go back to using the mouse for a second, are a whole bunch of other layers which you can create. And imagine that these layers are like little transparency sheets. So I was taking notes on the blocking layer, but if I wanted to make a new layer, and let's say that this was, I'll go back to the swing example, this is one person's track. So I'll just say this is Billy's track. And I tap save and I toggle into the Billy track, all of the other notes are gone. They're just hiding because they're on a layer that is not being shown. Matt, you look like your head's gonna hurt.
I hope you make $1 million.
I did not invent this. I've just helped. I've helped in certain ways. The layers. So layers is amazing. So yeah, right now we're in Billy's track, and Billy's track doesn't have any notes in it. But let's just, for the purposes of conversation, say that Billy has some notes here, and he's going to cross stage left. But if I put on, I can toggle on this little switch here for the blocking layer. And now I'm going to see Billy's track on top with all of the other notes underneath it being shown at partial opacity. Now, there's different things you could do here to serve whatever it is that you want to be viewing at a time. You could go show all, which is going to toggle on all of your layers, and it's going to look a bit like a mess, but this might be useful to you in some cases. So let's go to the next page here. And I'm going to hide the annotation toolbar just so you have a clearer image of what's going on. It's like, this is an example where I obviously was building out something to resemble a calling script with the different ways that you might do that. The first is a text box just by itself. The other is a text with an arrow underneath, and the other is, of course, just a scribble. But then you're able to see your other notes. And if you just wanted to view the scenery notes, toggle just into scenery. And then the other layers are going to be there in the background. And if you wanted to only view one layer, go hide all, and it's just going to show the layer that you're viewing. So the layers thing is really powerful in terms of viewing only the information you need at any one time. And what's really, there's so many things that are really cool about layers. You can merge them. And so sometimes that's useful. Like if you were taking a whole bunch of different tracks of notes, and then perhaps it would be particularly useful to smash everything together onto one layer, you just merge the layers. The layers cannot be unmerged, disclaimer, but you could always make a copy of them beforehand. The other thing that is really cool about this is, like, let's say that you wanted to share with your teammate. So let's say that you were, here's a perfect example. There's multiple rehearsals happening at the same time. You have an ASM in another room that has been taking blocking. They can export the layer of just the blocking and send it to you in your script. Now, to demo how this works, I'm going to go to iPad number 2, which has ASM notes on it. And what I'm going to do is the same thing that I just demoed here. I'm going to tap export on just this layer. And what's going to happen through the magic of AirDrop is AirDrop says open with Scriptation. So I tap Scriptation. And what it's going to do is say, oh, this looks like it belongs in musical first rehearsal draft. Okay. And it imports the layer so that here in layers, it added my ASM's layer. So that's pretty cool. Let me go back to the version. I have multiple versions of the same file, but you get the idea. Like, you could just import the layer to that file, and then it's part of your orbit of notes. So that's the idea about layers. Any layer questions before I move on to another feature? A lot of minds looking kind of blown. It's good. Good, thumbs up. All right, let's talk about the page maker. So over on the top right of your toolbar is like a document editor. And this is where you would go. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna show some more notes so this is a little easier to view here. The document editor allows you to do things like add blocking pages. So let me tap into that, and I'm going to go edit. So here in the add menu, this is a whole bunch of functionality that we literally released last week. So in the before times, if you wanted to add 100 blocking pages to your 100-page script, it was a bit of an effort because it sort of had to be done one by one. But this is how it now works. We're going to select source document. And I have down at the bottom here, this ground plan. So I select the ground plan, and I'm going to tap add as facing pages. And now you have blocking pages. It got way better, yeah. So that it's huge. It's totally huge. The other options there, so I'm just going to undo that for the sake of being able to show you more things that are cool. So let's say that you were not wanting a ground plan between every page because perhaps you were somebody on a show that makes individual ground plans for different scenes. So what you could do here is obviously that was the PDF import option, but I'll demo this from the photo library. So let's say you had a whole bunch of different JPEGs and you wanted to import not pictures of your cat, but pictures of this one particular ground plan. Now and I'll edit this down. This is obviously made to be a blocking page, but if let's say you didn't want it to do that exactly, you could trim it down. And now let's say that scene only exists in its iteration 3 times, and it happens to be after scene 4. So you just pop it right where you want it. And then once it's nearby, you can still click and drag. So if for those of you who are like custom blocking page people, it's still a zillion times better, no matter how you slice it. Some of the other cool stuff with add pages, I know it just goes on and on. If you're a graph paper person, or let's say you're somebody who just wants a notepad, there's a lot of, if you're a GoodNotes person and you happen to like that GoodNotes color, you can now just put in that ground plan as facing pages. So it showed you facing pages. We showed after page, and then there's just add that just adds one at the beginning. So if you just want a piece of notepad paper or graph paper or whatever it is, you can add in that way. So I'm going to go back, get rid of all that stuff, and I will end so that the script ends with blocking pages the way that most of the time they are in our lives. So let's do that. And I'll tap save. Some of the other cool stuff that you can do within the PageMaker that isn't necessarily about adding pages is copying and pasting. So let's say that you had some pages that you wanted to copy and paste. So we can just select. And if we wanted to say copy them into another document altogether and open up a new file, you could paste into that new file. The other tool that is a little bit more TV film specific, but has a lot of value to us is, let's say that you are only working on a particular segment of the show at one time. The Sides Creator tool allows you to isolate different pages. So like, let's say you were only working on scene 7. So if you just take the scene 7 stuff, we'll say it's those 3 pages, and tap make, what you end up doing is creating an independent file that's just I tap select there, that's just the segment of your script. So that's a really easy way to share just a snippet of what it is that you need to do. Questions about the PageMaker? Yes, Al.
So with the sides option,
yes,
is that like an idea that you could send the section of the Stage Manager script to an ASM to take to a second rehearsal and then mash the sides back in?
I would not recommend doing that. What I would recommend doing for that exact use case of like an ASM going to take blocking is you should send them a copy of your script. So that way it has all of your notes too, and then have them take notes in a new layer and then integrate their layer back into your life. That way you still have the master script and all of their notes are completely isolated. The one thing that is important to realize about layers And this will be somewhat advanced and perhaps a little confusing about the way Scriptation recognizes pages. There's script pages, and then there's everything else that you've added around it. The layer itself captures, when you share the layer, the content of only what's on the native script page, because everyone's facing pages can be totally customized to their own needs. So in your case, what you might want to do is make sure that they take all their blocking on just the script itself. And then when you integrate your notes back together again, it's that you're able to, just so you know how it works. And I can talk you through that more specifically if that would be helpful later. I saw some other hands. Yes, Stephanie.
What about integrating score?
Yes.
Maybe you're going to cover this later.
No, that's a really good question.
As a director choreographer, I choreograph from score, and
yes.
I have it integrated always. So
yes.
It takes me hours.
Yeah. So that's a really good. That is a really good question. So let's see here. What do I have? We're going totally off script here. So like I have to find a thing now. Do I have music to show you? I don't have something already in Scriptation, and I don't want to pull up something that I can't use on a recording. But here's the idea: if you have a song that's like big number 6, and all you want to do is integrate big number 6 into a certain page into your script, you would add it from select source document. So actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'll pull up something that no one's going to sue me for. Here, so let's go to. Let's see what we've got. Going into the archives of life. Here we go. Here's something that doesn't matter. Okay. So what I'm going to do is integrate this score. God knows what's going to happen when I insert this. And I'm going to insert it after that page. So there we go. We have a score that just like land. Now this is a very long file, but nevertheless, I'll demonstrate what the pros and the cons of having this score page now in here. So you know how to add it. But what's going to happen with a score is, because it's not a script, certain things are going to not be as amazing. So let's just go to. You guys can still see this screen, okay, right? Let me just move this out of the way because I can't see my own screen now. Okay, so stuff like the text highlight function, there's a good chance that it's going to recognize all of your text. But what this is not is a music only program where you're going to be like, I want to highlight just the tenor line. You're not going to do that in Scriptation. Because what you would do here is toggle on your freeform highlight tool. And as you zoom in, you could do this thing, you could, do whatever sort of notes you want, because all it's really doing is it's reading a PDF and it's recognizing text. Now, I will say, when you go to transfer notes, what Scriptation is going to think when it does the transfer is that all of your score pages are added pages. So it's going to take those and move it to it's going to pick up your added pages and plop them in the new script. So if you have a new version of that score, you're going to want to you're going to want to do a transfer for the score a little bit differently. Here's how you would want to do that. And again, this is like a somewhat complicated use case about just transferring the score. So like, what you could do, I can put a link in the, how would you want to do that? You wouldn't want to use master edit mode. I would say that what you would want to do is insert the new score and really just manually transfer any of your score notes. There would be a way to do it, but it's going to screw up your script and it's not going to be worth it if you do the integration. So I would just add a new version of big number 6 and highlight, and keep it in there. But that's how you would insert the score. Let's see, can I go back? Anyway, any other questions about the PageMaker while I eliminate this score from my life here? It's quite big, all right. Well, you're going to see how it works when you do a transfer on a score, because it's there now. Any other questions about PageMaker? Because otherwise I'll move on to transfer. Amazing. All right, so we have our script with our newly integrated score. Who knew? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up day 2. So here is our script. And just to walk through what we have, I'll hide the annotation toolbar. We're going to get rid of that, disregard. Okay, so we have our this was built in Final Draft. So we have the asterisk with all the stuff that has changed. We have an A page, page 2, 3, 4, 5 with changes. Nothing changed on 6, a little change on 7, a little change on 8 and 9 and 10. So let me make sure that, a file that we had open previously, just for ease of viewing, I'm going to keep open in a tab here. So from your new script, this is how transfer works. Tap transfer. And I'm going to just go to my most recent file here, which I know which one, it's this one. And then what it shows you on this transfer screen is the order of the direction in which transfer is going. So we're going from first rehearsal draft into day 2. There's a variety of pro transfer options here, so what these are, collate pages for when you're doing a transfer that is not a full script, so just pages, and I'll demo that later. Compare scripts, which will do a breakdown of the changes between scenes, sort of requires that your script adheres to a somewhat standard TV film format, which many theatrical scripts do not. But we'll talk about more about that later. And then transferring bookmarks, which I will toggle on just for shits and giggles. So we're going to tap next. Now here is where it says, which layers would you like to transfer? You can select all, but if for one reason or another you decided that some layer was not of use to you anymore, you do not have to transfer that layer. So we tap begin and the transfer magic happens. So it says 53 annotations made the journey to the new script, and there were 2 things that were deleted. Okay, now before we go into what deleted annotations mean, let's just show that everything made the journey by clicking here on the page maker. And you can see that our score made it exactly where it was before. So what we're going to do here is just toggle through. So to see that, I'll go to this page here. So all of the notes that were there before made the journey. And when annotations get and found their new spot in the script. Now, there's this thing here called deleted annotations. And a deleted annotation tells us here that on page 3, so PDF page 3 of the original document, there was something, there was a text annotation on that line that is not there anymore. So let's just go to page 1, 1 was the title page, 2, 3 is this page here. And the reason that this text annotation, which was this yellow highlighting on the opening material, did not make the journey is because if you go over to the new script, there's entirely new content there. So if content, the whole opening changed, as you do. So because none of that previously highlighted content is the same, none of it is the same, it's a deleted annotation. Now, I'm going to find you an example which would have been easier without the score, but please hold, of what happens when something changes. So here on page 109, this little yellow sticky note has appeared. And the reason that that little yellow sticky note has appeared is because the highlighted text used to be those 3 lines. And it became 1 line. So when you click on your annotation, you get this, which is what we call a changed annotation alert. So it tells you the original highlighted text was this, but it's a little different than it was before. And to make that go away, you can just click on it. So that is an alert to let you know that something is different. And those sorts of things happen with any of the text-based annotations, such as highlight, strike through, squiggle, underline. Those are things that are linked to text itself. If you're just making scribbles, the scribbles are going to make the journey to the new script, but they're not as married to words. It'll find words that are similar to the words it was nearby. Like that is the intelligent algorithm. That's what it is doing. But in terms of telling you this changed, that's specific to those types of annotations. So that's the basic of transfer, deleted annotations, and changed annotations. Any transfer questions? Amazing. All right, so I'm going to close out of this script for a second and go to show you a different type of transfer. So this is a script that we put together to demo the collate feature. Now, this is a script that's more like a live event, or if you do any sort of variety show, it might look a little bit more like this. But the idea is the same, that it is a script that we just have a bunch of annotations in. And then if you're somebody that works in a world where you get colored pages, it's like, let's say that you don't distribute the full script. So let's just say you distribute pages 1, 7, 5, 19, because that's the only thing that the changes are on. The collate pages feature is how you would do your transfer. So what we have here is a full script that goes up to page 10. And here in the blue page world, we have a replacement 1, a replacement 2, no change on 3, a new 4, a new 5, a new 6, 7, no change on 8, and then 9. So here's how the transfer works if it's not a full script. So let's tap transfer, and I'm going to go to the folder that has this stuff in it. I'm going to transfer from my full script. Now here in the Pro Transfer category, I'm going to toggle on collate pages, because what this is doing is it's collating the new stuff into the old stuff and transferring your notes at the same time. So tap next. I will select all of my layers. Tap begin. So what this now does is it makes a new file, because we have old script, new pages. So now we have to make a new master script. So we're going to save this new file. We'll just save it there. That's fine. And here it goes. Great, a whole bunch of stuff transferred. And this will be easiest to see in the page maker. And you can see that the blue pages now have all of the notes from the previous white pages. And if there was no blue page, the white page stayed as is. So if you're a person who distributes a full new script every time you get changes, you do transfer the way that I demoed originally. You just tap transfer from your new script, you select the old script, and you move the notes get copied forward. If you're somebody that only has a partial script, you use the collate feature. Now, to show you the way that transfer works in a world where, somebody will soon ask, well, what happens when pages get deleted? Excellent question. So I'm going to tab transfer from this pink. Before I do that, let me just show you what it is that we have here in pink draft. We have a combo. Let's start at the beginning. So we have a new page 2, a 2A, and an 8 through 10. So we're going to tap transfer and we're going to pull from the blue collated, which is the most recent master. We're going to toggle on collate again, tap next, select all the layers, tap begin, save as a new file, save it there, perfect. And then we will get a beautifully integrated yellow, pink. And the reason that stuff was deleted on page 9 and 10 is because of the combination of those pages and the previous content that was on. You may remember that there was like a commercial break on page 9. Well, the commercial break got cut in this version of the pink, in the pink revisions, so that the stuff that was related to the commercial break is on the previous draft. Now you might say, well, I really need my note back from the old version of the script. Okay, well, that's great. And in this case, I was resetting stools during the commercial break, a totally reasonable thing to do. So if I copy and paste that note, because you might say to yourself, well, we have to reset the stools. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna long press here and tap paste. And I have now resurrected my note onto the new script. So that's transfer. Questions, comments, suggestions. Oh, I see some questions in the chat. Lighting designer seminary layer would be incredible. Yes. Is this program only usable on iPad? Excellent question. It is primarily it is an iPad app. There is also a totally usable version for your Mac and for your iPhone. And I have some screen caps here, which I will show you. Looks like that. So like all the functionality that you have on the iPad, you can get on the phone, which is another way of saying, I mean, am I going to take blocking on my phone? No, but I mean, all the power to you if you want to, but you have access to it on your phone. So like you can, just having your scripts in your pocket all the time is so valuable. You know, this is what some of the other features look like. Like you can truly do all the stuff. There's also a Mac version which looks and feels a little bit more like the iPad because of just the screen ratio and all that. Yes, it would be great to be on the subway and review on it. Totally, 100%. It's like you could do the transfer on the subway. Like I always talk about, you know, what happens at 10:05 when your director is staring at you and you have 30 actors frantically putting pages in, and they're like, well, when are we going to start rehearsal? Well, when they're done with their pages. But like, if you can be part of the solution by doing your transfer on the subway. Let me just show you some other stuff about Scriptation that is kind of cool. Let me open up this file here. Talk about actor highlight for a second. So when a script is formatted with industry standard formatting, which is to say single or multi-camera, like from Final Draft for like a TV film script, Scriptation will automatically recognize your character names. Now, if I was playing the role of Billy, I can just toggle on Billy. And if I wanted to see all the things that were Marie, like if you're an actor or a swing, like this is huge. Just to like automatically highlight all of the lines that are applicable to that character. And what we have put together is, you know, because I know as well as all of you do know that there's no two theater scripts that look the same. So in the world of, well, how do we get how am I going to be certain that my script works in Scriptation? Well, for those of you that are Final Draft users, we have a Final Draft template which you can download and use, which I will put into the chat. And for those of you who might not be Final Draft users and you're more of a Microsoft Word person, the script that I am highlighting here at this demo is a Microsoft Word script, which you can download at that link. So the actor highlight thing is really, really cool. Sound mixers also love it because they just put a stick, you know, they put some spike tape on their faders and it's like just instant, like no thinking required there. So the actor highlight's pretty awesome. Other features that we haven't yet talked about is this thing called reader mode. And what reader mode does is it basically kills all of the white space on the side and it makes your script really pop. And there's also a scroll feature. So, you know, for those of you that are just like reading along and don't want to have to turn pages because that's not your thing, you could also turn on actor highlighting while in reader mode. And the fact that this can all happen like while you're in this same mode is pretty cool too. There we go. So reader mode is really designed for scripts that are, again, TV and film scripts, but there is total value in transferring that to the theater world. The other icons that we have not yet touched on, this right here is share. So if you wanted to send your full PDF to a colleague, you can just tap the share and you can be on your way with whatever integration you have, AirDrop or send it as a text or Slack or whatever you like to use. The search function allows you to find keywords. So if you were like all the times that like a ball existed in the script, that's what that does. Bookmarks is what this thing here. So let's say I make a bookmark on scene 3, and let's say that I toggle over till there's only 3 scenes, so that's not a very meaningful example. But here in the outline summary, I have all of my bookmarks. So, okay, you can just click a bookmark to go to it. But where this really becomes valuable to you is in making a table of contents for your script. So if you like, scene 1, and then you can you have the idea, but all of these bookmarks transfer to the new script so that you really just have to do this once. And then you can line up all of your other scenes and then drag them into like whatever order. So let's just call this scene 2 so it isn't mad at me. You can then just tap and drag. People really like to do this for like aligning the day's work. It's like if you have to teach somebody 5 scenes and you have your whole show's worth of scenes, just stack them up at the top and like it's just single click to get to where you need to go. It's just a really good way to prep what you need to prep. Let me open up a script that has some more notes in it. Please hold. Let's go to that. Okay. Then here in the open book icon on the right side is all of the annotations. This is like a list of all of your notes. And again, as you saw before, this was searchable based on the text that is being highlighted, or you can see the numbers, or in this case, stamps. So like rewrite TBD, if you wanted a stamp, or all the things that we're reading, we're staging this, but it's going to be different. That's a really valuable way to use the stamps. So that basically covers all of the major features. As we think about collaboration tools in a world of trying to distribute information to your team in the easiest way, we think about the shareable layers. We think about just sharing the script itself and how much faster all of that really is. I will show you some of the things about settings. So if you are a person who wants to take blocking so that it looks like a binder, you could do that sort of thing and turn your iPad sideways. Let's see how that goes in the demo. So that it looks a bit more like that. And that could be very useful to you. Now, I'm just demoing this on a 7th generation iPad, which is not terribly large, but some people use devices that are older and newer. So it's, use what you got. Some of the other stuff here that people really like, I'll go back to single page mode for a second. I'll show you something that is just fun. If you're like really somebody that likes a binder, this page turning thing is just like that puts a smile on everybody's face. So those are some of the different view settings. So let's talk a little bit about Scriptation free versus paid versus, just to give you an idea as to what that really means. I'm going to close out of that for a moment. Please hold while I go to some, I'll put that up in a second. So when you download Scriptation from the App Store, it is totally free. And you can do the overwhelming majority of things about marking up your script and doing the basic transfer, actor highlight. You can do all that in the paid version, in the free version. The things that are specific to Industry Pro, and I'm going to put the little what is Industry Pro link in the chat for your review later, are a few of the features. So being able to sync to cloud, so if you're a Dropbox or iCloud user, so that is something that comes with Pro. All of the fancy transfer stuff, so the single page transfer, the compare, the bookmarks, that's Pro. Adding facing pages, creating sides, sharing layers, and the saved annotations thing where you can like tap save on literally any marking you make and save it for later. That's the stuff that is that comes with the pro version. But again, you can use the free version forever and still have a perfectly fun time with Scriptation. A couple of, can you share via airdrop in the free? You can share via airdrop like the whole file in the free. You can't share individual layers, but if you can be the recipient of a layer in the free. So let's, you know, let's just say for the moment that you, you know, there is a world, like, let's just think about how we would use this in the real world. If you're a stage manager, your stage management team is probably going to want to be on pro, but your actors maybe don't, because if you just distribute the script as a whole script, and they're just like highlighting some stuff, and like they honestly, they don't necessarily need that if they take all their notes on their script. Like the real value in the pro, like everybody loves the facing pages, the blocking pages, like the ability to really customize your whole script is an incredibly useful pro feature. But in terms of getting, you know, a cast of 30 on it, well, let me pull up some nuts and bolts. Oh, I cut to the end. So like, you know, here in the States, you know, I figured out that basically for every musical and every play per person for first rehearsal, they were spending that much just to walk in the door. And by the time they walk in the door by lunch, the script is wrong. So like there's $1,000 out the window. Oh, I have the page curl thing on. So like if you're somebody who comes from this from if you're an APM, if you're somebody who like looks at the budget, you might think to yourself, okay, well, what would happen if 50% of my cast used Scriptation? And if 50% of your cast used Scriptation, the number is green of how much you would save. And that's if every person had the paid version. So, you know, what Scriptation, in addition to there being a free version and Industry Pro, which is the paid upgrade, there's also a team situation where if you wanted to buy 10, 20, 40, or 80 licenses for your production, everyone can be on the same license key, which unlocks a whole new level of sharing layers. That's like an instant, it's not like Google Docs, but it's instant in which you could like share with SM team and it just goes to SM team, or share with actors and you go with actors. I'm not going to demo that now because that's a whole nother hour, but you get the idea that there's a way to package the group licenses. Now, if you're a play, obviously there's money to be saved, but it's less. So again, we talked about free trial, we talked about the free version. There's the 14-day trial, like if you just want to try out all the features. And then Pro is available monthly, annually. I will put in the education discount. Somebody's not muted. Scriptation.com. If you have anything to do with an EDU email address and you are interested in Pro, you can get a discount at this link. And again, we talked about production licensing. So this is actually really cool for those of us who are trying to be environmentally conscious. I don't know what a case of paper looks like up in Canada, but that's the case of paper that every show in New York City buys all the time. And if you just consider exactly what's saving one case of paper, 60% of a tree is a little tree. For me, the sentence ends there. Like that's a one little tree. But if you want to be counting BTUs and carbon and gallons of water and pounds of solid waste, you certainly can as well. I mean, there's tremendous, like you go through how many cases of paper on a new musical, one a week for sure. That's if you're being environmentally conscious. So there's tremendous value from an environmental perspective going digital. We talked about that. We talked about all the stuff. I've made it to the end of my list.
That is so incredible. My mind is absolutely blown.
I'm so glad. Any other questions? Like any, you know, I sort of assumed that you guys are actors or stage managers or production folks, but if there's some other use case that I had not considered, by all means, let me know.
Yeah, feel free to, Steph, just unmute.
Yeah, go
unmute.
for it.
Go.
Is there any crossover with Stage Right, Jeff Whitting's program for like choreography and stuff?
Yeah, no, I'm quite familiar. There is not crossover in terms of app integration. Listen, I know Jeff Whiting professionally on multiple levels, but no one is going to let you take choreography better than Jeff Whiting and Stage Right. Like that is what that app does, and it does so well. But if that is an app that is choreography first, Scriptation is an app that is script first. So, you as a director choreographer, might say to yourself, okay, I'm going to take my blocking charts and I'm going to mark up all of like my dance charts in Stage Right. But at the end of the day, if you are going to get a new script every day, no insult to Jeff Whiting, but this script transfer situation is a very different situation. Like this is what Scriptation does best. And I would happily say that you are going to have way more of the experience that you are looking for making those dance charts with your whole library of every dancer and just being able to like plop them in and with the lines and the arrow. That whole thing is going to be better in Stage Right. But if for a script first application, you got to, Scriptation is going to be the way to go. I will show you one more thing. If you find yourself really liking, I'll show you two little hacks. To do the choreography in Scriptation, I'm just going to go fast for a second and add a page on which we could take some blocking. So if you wanted to, you could build out your little circles, and let's call this, this is going to be person X here. And I now have this little library of things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tap the selection tool and I'm going to save this character in my library so that I can refer to all of my people. And I'm just going to keep adding person X, but you get the idea that you can have your library of people and then you can make your little arrows. So you can accomplish the same goal in Scriptation as you can, in terms of making whatever charts you want. But it's, again, this is a script first application. Other questions?
Yeah. Can I see what it looks like to have both the blocking page and the script page together? Because I'm just wondering, when we were talking about transferring layers and that the facing page wouldn't transfer over.
The facing page transfers over. The only time that you're going to get, so here, I'll show you exactly what it is that you want to see here. Okay, so this is like what it would look like if you were taking blocking on your iPad, or at least what I think it would look like. So we have all of our notes here, and we're going to be taking, let's just demo this here. So like one and like some stuff happens. And so what's going to happen, some more stuff happens. So we have our blocking. And in a world of transfer, what will happen is that all of the notes are going to transfer over. And this facing page here, which is the page before, let's get rid of this. So this page is the page before page one. When you go to your new script, the page before page one is going to still be the page before page one. And all of your numbers on your native script page are going to intelligently find their way to their new place based on the text that they are near. But the added page, your blocking page, none of that stuff's going to move. All of that stuff's going to remain on that page. The part of this that you heard about the layers was that if you were going to send to a collaborator just this layer with my blocking with these notes on it, the part of the layer, the parts of the notes that they're going to get are only the ones on the script page. So the sharing layers has that, it's sort of a limitation, but it's designed so that you can share your layer with somebody who's working on the same core script. Mm-hmm. It allows everyone to have added pages. They're totally different.
Because I'm the king of a workaround, because I've been trying to do digital scripts on my own with annotating
Yeah.
PDFs, and it's a disaster.
Yes.
But I do it. I'm like, okay, maybe if you built out a script where a PDF where every other page was a blocking page, that is imported so that that file can transfer between your stage management team. So how can you make that look like a binder in that two pages are next to each other that are in the PDF? It's not a facing page. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, I'm going to put something, if you like a workaround, I'm going to show you, I'm going to put this thing in the chat. It's called master edit mode, which you should read up about. And what I'm going to, if you wanted to share the content of every page, you would have to assign your blocking pages as native script pages. For those of you that this does not apply to, just plug your ears. This will be over soon. You're going to assign your blocking pages as native script pages. Now, here's where you're going to screw yourself. If you don't, before you transfer, you have to put all your blocking pages back, because otherwise the transfer algorithm is going to be looking for script text on numbered pages that it's gonna get all fatootzed. So if in the share, this is how you're going to hack the layer share for blocking pages. But before you go to transfer notes, you have to set yourself back on track. But check that out. It's a good read, master edit mode.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Sorry, similar question for you, Rico. In this
Yes.
world where you merge in on our new musical,
Yes.
page 2 and 3 got smashed together, and we're
Yes.
using that sort of facing page idea
Uh-huh.
with numbers. When I was experimenting this after the first webinar, I was finding that my blocking pages all of a sudden were out of sync, because they would, like when 2 and 3 smashed together, then the blocking page that should have, or the facing page that should have been with 3 was now with 4.
And then you found and then everything was one off when the
Like
page
all like facing pages end up being a whole page off when they 2 pages merged. Was I just doing
Got
a
it.
thing wrong?
Can you send me the script that you tested that on, and I'll play with it to see if I could find out what happened there. Because what is supposed to happen is that the order of the remaining pages is maintained, and if page 3 was deleted, you'd end up with 2 blocking pages next to each other, and that the whole rest of it is not supposed to get screwed. That's what's supposed to happen. But if you found that was not the case, send me your file and I will investigate and see if I can replicate the same thing. Because that's the idea, is that like the added pages are never supposed to skip around. If a native script page gets deleted, you can delete all of the native script pages and you'll just get a pile of blocking pages. But that order should not get messed up. But if you found something, send me the file, I'll check it out. I pulled up this calendar for a second just to show you very quickly that transfer also will work with non-script files. So like, let's say you're in that very first production meeting and you've marked up a calendar with like, this is when the SITS probe will be, and then you're going to get a new version of that calendar. You can transfer notes from calendar to calendar. Now, again, is it going to work as perfectly as a script? No, because it's really optimized for the formatting of a script, but you can see that all of the notes found their way to exactly where they were before, and they exist in a layer. So every time notes move, it pulls that layer of notes forward into the new thing. So there's no way, you don't lose notes in transfer, nothing ends up being moved. It's sort of a copy and relocation. Any other questions? Amazing.
A much more simple question. Sorry, Kyla.
Sure. Yes, hi Kyla. Yes, we've been going very advanced.
That's okay. That's okay. But for like an actor and stuff, if you have multiple devices, do you have a sign in and then all of your things are, I can use it on my phone and my computer and my iPad. I have a
Marvelous question. So the sync across your device, so like let's just say you use iCloud or something. So everything that is in, so anything that's in a connections folder will sync across devices. So enabling the cloud connections is one of the pro features here. So if you were, I mean, I'm logged in as pro, but you would get like a little pro button on top of this connections thing. So anything that if you want the same files on your iPhone, on your computer, on your iPad, you just have to make sure it's in one of the cloud folders. Now, sometimes people get confused and they think that the stuff that's down here under on my iPad is going to magically appear on all of the other devices. That's not how that works. So that stuff is truly local to that device only. So I would recommend Kai to try the pro for like the 2-week trial, see if you like it, and just make sure your stuff is in, if you're a Dropbox user, Google Drive, whatever, make sure your stuff's in those folders and you'll find it on all of your devices.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
I have a question. I think I already know the answer, but just in case, it's sort of along the same lines as Steph. So if I was using like a different app to record choreography or something like that, I could screenshot like a chunk of that other app and insert it as a photo, as a facing page.
100%. Yes, exactly right.
So I could work around that app integration just by cheating that way as well.
Totally, yeah. So like I'm going to use, this is here, like let's say, I'll do something that is perhaps a bit more to this crowd. So like, let's say that I'm using, StageRite or something. There's nothing here, obviously, but I'm just going to take a screen cap so that you get the idea. And then I'm going to go and I'm just going to open up any old file. And I'm going to go to the PageMaker. And I'm going to tap Edit. And I'm going to tap Add. And if I go to my photo library, my most recent screen cap is there. So my options are now I can add it as a page and I can move the appropriate staging to wherever it is that you would like in your script, or I'm not going to save that. You can also integrate that same photo. Let me go, please hold, going back to single page mode. It's just easier. You can integrate as a photo, image, photo, and resize to your heart's content to get your little diagram wherever it is that you'd like. Thank you for the round of applause.
So good. So good.
If I remember correctly, you can also do the same with videos, right? Like you can drop in a little video section.
You can take a screen cap of a video. Fun fact, the PDF spec does not support video. But if you are, more mind-blowing hacks. If you're a person that likes to have video nearby, you can use the iPad multitasking feature. So like if I wanted to have a video open on the left side of my iPad, I can have my script on the right side. And iPad multitasking leaves a little bit to be desired, but you get the idea. That you can have a video on the left and your script open on the right and use it that way. Anybody else? Cool. I think we did the thing.
I think we did the thing. Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Yeah. Any more questions? This is your final chance. Okay. That's really amazing. Thank you so very much, Rico.
Yeah, I'm gonna just pop my email in the little chat. If you guys ever have more advanced questions about how we're gonna hack Scriptation for all of our hopes and dreams, just hit me up and I can help set you on the right path. That's fun.
Yeah, and if you start using it, feel free to let us know. Like, we can all keep talking about how it works for us. And obviously, Rico, if something doesn't work, or like Al said, like obviously the open communication is there, and that's really awesome. how do we close? We can just maybe close the screen sharing, and Julia and I are we're trying to get in the habit of like taking a photo of things that we do. If you don't want to be in a photo, that's okay. I look like a farmer's market, but we're just trying to get better at this. I literally, so, you know, do whatever you want. This is
Ready?
so fun.
3, 2, 1.
Great. I look like a 5-year-old. Thank you so much for being here. Any last words? Anyone can unmute themselves for this last few minutes if you have any last words. Otherwise, that's it. Rico,
you so
you're
much.
amazing. That was so
Nice to meet
cool.
all of you. Hope to see you in Canada one day.
Yes.
Thank
come visit
you.
us.
Thank you very much.
We love
Thank you
Canada.
so much.
Have a great night.
Have a great
Thanks,
night.
everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for
night.
organizing, Tess and Julia.
Yeah.
This is
Thanks for
awesome.
coming. Hi, Julia.
Hello, Tess Benger.
Do you have the recording? Do I have the recording? Can I
I
close
have
this?
I have